In this sequence, we'll look at various reptiles and amphibians, some mammals, and we'll end with a very cute opossum. So stick with it now. The five-lined skink is Missouri's most common skink, and seeing the juveniles around community is very common. Pictured here is Cat Wayne playing with one along the road just outside the music room. The skink didn't seem to be having very much fun. The adult five-lined skinks are about 6 inches long and are olive or tan colored with faint dark side stripes and a few light stripes. They can be confused with the similar broad-headed skink that we see here. The males of both species will have an inflamed head of bright red-orange during the breeding season. Sexy! This rough greensnake is quite docile and even friendly to humans. It seldom bites, and even when it does, the bite is weak and venomless. The western ratsnake, commonly known as a black snake or black rat snake, is a common sight in the gardens and is a good pest control friend to have. Now we are looking at a female eastern fence lizard found along the loop path. Commonly known as a prairie lizard, amongst many other names, there are 11 subspecies of this lizard and their look can vary quite a bit. It has been shown that these lizards' legs have grown longer in response to predation by the red fire ants, an invasive species that can kill these lizards within 1 minute of attack. Named for the number of toes on their hind legs, these three-toed box turtles love foraging for earthworms, insects, snails, slugs, and even strawberries and mushrooms along the edges of the upper garden. Any observant gardener will get into a friendly staring match with this species at some point or another. It is possible for them to have 4 hind toes, possibly due to hybridization with other species. Fowler's toad, also found in the garden perimeter, is a species that will breed repeatedly throughout the spring. The male produces a call that attracts both males and females. If the calling male attempts to mate with one of the other males, the victim of this untoward advance will chirp a release call to stifle the scene. These last 2 photos I cannot positively identify, even after much research. Both the eastern American toad and woodhouse toad don't have Lake Norfolk as an area of their range, but it is close. However, it is possible one of them is a hybrid of woodhouse and Fowler toad. Really, there are many possibilities. If you have a thought on it, please let it be known. And we will end with these late April pictures of the American bullfrogs who sing at the koi pond. Decades ago, this pond was constructed just a bit south of Rock Bottom. To catch a good glimpse of these bullfrogs, you may have to army crawl across the lawn, as I did to snap these shots. Male bullfrogs aggregate in groups called choruses. These choruses are dynamic, forming for a short time, breaking down, and then reforming in a different area with a different group of individuals. Male bullfrogs have yellow throats and enlarged tympanums on their heads during the breeding season. I believe these photos are of male bullfrogs right ahead of the height of the breeding season. Sexual selection is an intense process in the bullfrog world. The female bullfrogs have brief periods of sexual activity, normally no more than a single night in the season, and typically the female initiates the engagement. The males establish a hierarchy within the chorus by challenging and threatening each other. Bullfrogs can jump distances 10 times their body length. During a flood year, as the waters recede, the areas close to the lake may fill up with hundreds of Asian carp spawning. They will get stuck in pools that are very shallow as they flap all over each other. Asian carp are invasive and an excellent emergency source of food. The species was purposefully imported to the United States in the 1970s, primarily to help control algal blooms at wastewater treatment facilities. Within 1 decade, the Asian carp had escaped, and they are now a common feature of all Midwestern river systems, displacing many native species. And here are some pictures of the things that live in the koi pond. Of course, there are many other species of fish in Lake Norfolk, and fishermen will boat up and down the creek in flood years. I just don't have any good pictures of said fish or fishermen. Go check it out for yourselves. This is a wabbit. You'll find plenty of evidence of beavers around the creek, but it isn't common to actually see one, as they are typically nocturnal creatures. During the fall, when they are preparing for winter, you have the best chance of sighting one. The eastern gray squirrel is incredibly common all around, and if you want to get your labor hours by hunting them, there is a precedent for such a thing, as long as it is in the name of pest control for the factory. Of course, anything you hunt must be processed and consumed. Squirrel tacos tonight, boys. Deer are plentiful at Eastwind. I've seen over 40 in a single herd. On some of the land that is leased from the Army Corps, the state plants huge fields of food to supplement deer forage. The species is plagued by chronic wasting disease, which I believe is evident here in some of these photos of deer grazing. Surprisingly, not too many deer are processed each year at Eastwind, but this is a labor-creditable activity if it is done to feed community. Rarely living more than 3 years, the opossum mates about 7 months after birth and has a 12-day pregnancy, the shortest of any North American mammal. Opossums are excellent tick killers and should be considered great friends for this reason alone. They are marsupials, and newborns must find their way into the mother's marsupium, or pouch, to nurse and hold on for dear life. Baby opossums are called joeys. Opossums often give birth to more joeys than can survive. Only 13 can attach and feed from the mother's teat. After 2 months, joeys will piggyback on the mother while she forages for food. At 100 days, they are usually large enough and learned enough to fend for themselves in their typically 1 to 2 year lifespan. Opossums avoid danger. However, if caught by surprise, they will bare their 50 teeth and hiss in an attempt to bluff the threat away. If this doesn't work, the opossum collapses and appears to be dead and will start frothing and drooling. Certainly you've heard the phrase, playing possum. This habit is called thanatosis, which means death feigning, and is not voluntary. It is similar to an overly stressed person fainting. Opossums are not possums. Possums are another marsupial species found in New Zealand and Australia. G'day, mate. Oi!